Welcome to Chart of the Week for the week of January 31st. This week we'll look at the number of single-family home sales taking place in the Metro Denver area. In the first chart, we see the number of single-family home sales transactions in the Denver metro area since 2003. As you can see, there's a clear annual cycle that home sales follow, with activity peaking during the warm months and dropping during the cold months. Beginning in 2006, there's been a downward drift in the overall number of transactions, with a more significant decline showing up in late 2008. This is expected given the financial panic of the fall of 2008 and the subsequent job losses in the region in 2009. The most interesting part of this graph is found over on the right side. We see in general that each year has a rather predictable arc-shaped pattern that corresponds to the warm and cold months, as we noted earlier. But in 2010, we see that the number of home sales, instead of peaking in the warm months, actually drops off considerably in the middle of the year. Historically, the number of sales transactions continues to be strong through September of each year, but in 2010 the number of sales peaked in May and then fell in every month from June through November. This highly unusual drop in home sales mid-year was due to the end of the homebuyer tax credit, which had been put in place in various forms beginning in late 2008 and lasting until April 30th, 2010, which was the deadline for a home to be under contract in order to qualify for the tax credit. Here in this graph, we see that comparing year over year, each month from June through November of 2010 actually had fewer home sales transactions than was the case for the same month during 2009. Each point on the curve below the red line indicates a negative year-over-year comparison. We see that by mid-2007 there are more points below the red line than above it, indicating a declining trend in home sales transactions. Then, we see the tax credit push the number of transactions up in late 2009 and through much of 2010, with positive year-over-year growth during the first half of 2010 as the tax credit neared its end. Note, however, that the trend immediately turns negative again following the end of the tax credit, with 6 months of negative change. December 2010 manages to eke out a positive 5% change compared to December 2009. These trends are generally the same across the state's larger real estate markets. This graph shows all home sales transactions statewide, and this graph shows the same for the Pikes Peak region. The notable difference in the Pikes Peak region can be seen in the fact that the tax credit appears to have pushed up some home buying activity in 2009 a little bit higher than in many other regions. Looking back to the year-over-year changes, it is clear that without the tax credit, home buying has been sluggish. Home purchase activity for the second half of 2010 is below 2009 totals, in spite of the fact that 2009 was a very slow year and contained the bottom of the most recent recession. And totals are well below 2008 levels as well. On the other hand, median home prices have not shown significant declines in spite of 6 months of falling activity in home sales. We'll look at that in the next video.